And here they are, or here he is.
I think I'm on my own here.
Yes, yes, Peter Svidler. What a game, and what maneuvers at the end of the game.
Yeah.
Is your head still there?
No, hasn't been since.
Let's have some grapes.
Can't.
No.
Those I can't have ever.
Yeah.
Those and bananas are forever forbidden.
Okay.
What should we bring you?
Different brain.
Different brain.
Well.
So what happened, Peter?
Look,
why do you need a different brain?
I had so many things prepared for this game, for the press conference in particular, and none of them are relevant anymore, apart from the fact that today's my wife's birthday, so I think I was kind of protected.
Okay. That was a nice.
I was planning a completely different intro, but that intro is now no longer relevant.
Your wife's birthday?
Yeah.
I think that will be remembered in Norway, actually.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, and for obvious reasons.
Yeah.
And congrats to everyone on the.
So that's great.
On the big bank holiday.
And congratulations to Olga.
Yeah.
Of course.
Well, let's get to some kind of a beginning, yeah, I guess. No, the point is, in some tournaments, like in London, for instance, everything I tried in the opening would come off. And here, I think every single semi-bluff I tried completely failed. And today, I mean, this is a reasonably trendy line. Good players played it. I mean, also very good players played it with black. And everybody just automatically plays knight g6 in this position. And we discovered d6, d5 half an hour before the game. And I think it just equalizes immediately. I think there's basically d5, knight e5, knight e4, knight g2. I think probably knight d6 is slightly more precise than knight takes d2. But in general, especially after knight d6, I mean, my biggest fear was that I will have yet another one. I've had many of those in this tournament. A game with white where by move 15 the position is absolutely equal and there's no game. And I briefly even considered changing the first move, but then I thought, okay, I mean, this is not a very well-known position. Maybe Sergey will play knight g6, and of course he blitzes out d5. And I thought, yeah, okay, this is how this tournament is going. But then he took on d2. And this is perhaps slightly trickier for black than the other position, although I still think black should be fine here somehow. But after f6, I spotted this idea which I played, and I started becoming slightly more interested. I thought knight d3, and now, I mean, bishop d7 is a very natural-looking move because black in general wants to trade off the light-squared bishops and keep the dark-squared bishops. And now a4. I mean, it looks like a blunder, but in fact, I spotted this idea, and I was extremely happy because I thought, this gives me play. And I think maybe objectively, black should just take a takes b5 and some move, I don't know, queen d7. But this is somewhat less fun. As usual, I mean, we are brought up on, hating to bring the pawn closer to the center. So I think Sergey just was unhappy about this idea in general. And on the other hand, if he goes a5 here, I think knight f4 is very strong. And, whoops, not bishop c1, obviously. Knight f4 is, I think, very, very unpleasant. And I get some kind of a position like, my apologies, like in the game, but without even sacrificing the pawn. And after c6, I have this tactic, a5, knight c5. And I thought, okay, at least, I'm creating some ideas and it's fun in a way, but I still expected this to be somehow equal, although I'm not so sure how. I think maybe objectively, black shouldn't accept the pawn sacrifice. He should return the pawn immediately and in this position play maybe something like knight c6. Although I understand why, a position after knight b3, why Sergey was perhaps somewhat unhappy about the prospects of playing this. But on the other hand, what he got in the game I thought was just very, very dangerous. I think bishop c8. I'm not sure why he went bishop b6 and not bishop c7, but that's, once again, it's a question for him. And after knight a6, I mean, it looks quiet, but in fact, if I double on the e-file, I will be just completely winning, I think. And here is why I'm asking for a different brain. He went knight g6. And in this position, if I play queen g4, I think the only move that doesn't lose on the spot is rook f7. Because if he goes rook e8 now, the obvious difference is that after rook e1, rook e6, and queen e6. I mean, I have a queen on e6 and not a rook. And I'm sure I should be winning here. I mean, after king f8, I probably give some kind of a mate, and after king h8, the queen comes to f7, so this is just lost. So I think after queen g4, pretty much the only move black can make is rook f7, which is what I was trying to get in the game. Bishop g6, hg, queen takes g6, and the problem is he can't actually get the line back, I mean the file, because rook e7 just loses to rook takes f6. And basically, next move I will double along the e-file, and okay, the bishop on d2 is a bad piece, so it will take me a while to actually sort of bring my pieces around and give some kind of a mate. But I have very little doubt that I will, eventually, because basically he's just completely tied up. It will look something like queen d7, rook a e1, rook a f8, rook a f8, some move like bishop f4. I even thought maybe creating a threat of bishop d6. Bishop c7, for instance, takes, and now I thought I can, for instance, play queen f5, and after queen d7, support the queen with g4, so that there are no tricks with the hanging queen on f5. And then I will just play h4, h5, king g2, h6, and at some opportune moment. And I think I'm giving mate here. I can't really imagine white not being sort of winning here, not even better. I think it's just winning. And instead of this, I went queen h5, which, honestly, it's, once again, it beggars belief that I played queen h5 in this position. And of course, the moment I got up from the board, I realized what will happen, because now after rook e8, well, the rooks get swapped, and I'm left with only one. And what's more, he brings all his pieces to correct positions. So I suspect I might actually be slightly worse here already. But I have some decent compensation. I thought this is the most precise way to play. And it's difficult for black to get much of anywhere, because you know, I have a very simple plan of sort of keeping things in check and advancing on the king side. And to get the rook to e8, he probably has to play g6 at some point, which will create a target. So I thought my compensation should be enough for a draw somehow. And I was just, you know, it took me about 20 minutes of breathing exercises just to continue the game, frankly, after queen h5, rook e8. At this point, I was just happy making moves and, you know, making some kind of progress. As in sort of not losing, not blundering pieces in one move, and you know, this kind of progress. So bishop c7, g3, b5 I think is logical, because once again, as we will see in the game, the moment the bishops get opened, it becomes very dangerous for black. So stopping c4 is a good idea. I played h4, and well, black can play g6, but also I think he could have just played a5, planning to do exactly the same as he was doing in the game, but sort of forever stopping all the ideas I played in the game. But I'm not sure this is even necessary. And what will happen, I think, is something like I will play queen g4, he will play bishop d6, I will play h5, he will play rook a7, and I will just play king g2. And I think I'm not worse, to be honest, because the pawns on the queen side are now very weak. So I mean, the moment something gets attacked on the queen side, black might actually end up in a lot of trouble. So he can't, for instance, I think he can't play rook e7, because after rook takes e7, queen takes e7, queen c8, this could be trouble for black very easily, like queen c7, bishop f5, and I mean the whole queen side might just fall like 10 pins. For all I know. I mean, don't listen to me, but it's possible. So this is what I expected. And then Sergey played bishop d6, and I thought, suddenly a new opportunity. I can obviously continue in the same way and just play queen g4, h5 here. It will be the same position. But I thought, why not just play b3? Because now suddenly, you know, I can open something on the queen side. And this was connected, of course, with an immediate miscalculation, because after a5, c4, I spent all my time considering a4. C takes d5, I think, is stronger. And now something like maybe g6, because if a3, maybe even d takes c6 is very strong, I thought. Oh no, no, for this to work I need to take on b5, and this position d6 I think is not very good, but I can just play bishop c3, this was my plan. a2 and bishop a1. And I mean, it looks kind of horrible to block the pawn this way, but on the other hand, his pieces are so incredibly passive and his pawns are hanging everywhere. And I thought that, you know, the queen side is kind of closed, and it will be very difficult for him to get anywhere near this bishop on a1. And meanwhile, I won the pawn back, and the whole queen side is about to collapse. So I thought this might be quite good for me. Completely missing, of course, that after c4 he can do what he did, which is take and play bishop b4, protecting the pawn, hitting my bishop. So I think I kind of have to play bishop c1 and a4. And well, here I'm very lucky I have bishop b1, because otherwise I think I'm in a lot of trouble. But after bishop b1, well, he has to make a decision. And here he went badly wrong. I have a feeling I know what he missed. I will show you later. But basically the most obvious move, I think, in this position is d takes c4. And after bishop a2, I think black has to take. I will play, I thought, bishop b2. I think this works, although I'm not entirely sure, but I think this works, because if black takes, I take on c4, king h8, queen f7 check, knight somewhere, doesn't matter where, I give a check, he takes, I take, and whichever piece he puts on f8, the queen goes back to f7, and I think this is mate. At least that was my impression. I couldn't see anything wrong with this particular bit of calculation. So that was my plan. So after bishop b2, I think he needs to go queen d5. It's important to put it on this particular square, I think. I go queen g4. He goes king h8. I take on c4. And this is a weird position, because I'm 2 pawns down, but now my bishops are incredibly active, and his pieces are horribly misplaced, most of them. I think I should have enough for equality here. I'm not claiming any advantage or of any kind, but I think I might have enough for equality here, because I have such tremendous play for the material, and my pieces are finally very well coordinated. But instead of this, Sergey played queen b6. And I think what he missed is that after c takes d5, I'm sure he was planning to go bishop d2. And this, I think, immediately loses, because I go bishop h7, knight h7, and rook e7. And I think this is just mate. Which I'm fairly certain this is, well, not mate, but black can give up his entire chess set. And this will not be mate, but this will not really help very much. So bishop d2 doesn't work, and then basically suddenly, you know, queen b6 is basically, it would have been probably better in this position for black to say pass than to play queen b6, because, you know, the d5 pawn is not as yet hanging. I mean, any move is probably better than this. So queen b6, cd5 here, I started getting very excited. And for a while Sergey defended very, very well. He played bishop d6. Bishop a2 is the most obvious move, c5. And here, I mean, it looks like I should be winning somehow, but I couldn't quite figure out how. And I mean, it's very, very difficult not to make a move like rook e7 on the board. It just looks so right. And here I thought that he absolutely has to play knight g6, because if he takes on e7, the difference with the game is if he takes on e7, I play d6 check, he goes king h8, and here I go queen d5, not queen f7, and the game finishes immediately. That's the big difference. So I thought he has to go knight g6, and after that I can try various things. Rook e6 looks very attractive, but I suspect I might be winning after rook d7. Sort of pinning the knight to g6. If he takes on d4, I think I should be winning after queen g4 simply. And I think there's no defense against h5. I mean, h4, h5 is just a huge threat, which I suspect should just win the game. So he has to go something like rook e8. Whoops, not rook f8, rook e8. And in this position, well, I have a feeling something wins, something like maybe even simply bishop a3, sort of renewing some threats in the center, and it's only one check on e1. He has really no entrance squares into my camp, so I thought this might be good for me. So I thought I'm winning, but I didn't expect king h8. At first I was happy because I thought, okay, I will go rook f7, and if he goes knight g6 here, once again I'm sure queen g4 is winning, and if he takes on d4, whoops, no. If he takes on d4, I thought I can, for instance, go for the simplest move I think here is just queen g4, g6, rook takes f6, and I should be winning eventually because the king is just so incredibly weak. But then he played king g8, and I realized I'm somewhat stuck. I don't really have any immediate way in, at least none that I could see, because now after bishop h6 he will just take the bishop. And there's no mate. So eventually I settled on going for this position which we got in the game, because I spotted queen e4, and I was very happy because I thought this must be winning, because the threat of rook b1, I mean bishop b1 is such a huge one. And frankly, this is from this moment on until a very, very late in the game, I honestly have no idea what's going on. He went rook c8, judging by the fact that his clock read 0.33, he made it with 3 seconds to spare. So that wasn't an easy decision. Bishop f4 looks very natural. And in this position he went rook d8, and I had more time, and what I thought were at least 2 moves which should be winning. And the more I thought, the less I could understand what's going on. And my initial idea was to play h5, but then I couldn't even understand what his plan was. And then I spotted queen b5. And the point is, if I go h6, he goes rook e8. And suddenly I have no checks after hg, king g7, and he actually does have checks. And this becomes tricky. Although maybe this was just winning, I don't know, something like take, and some quiet move like maybe queen f3, rook e1, and king h2. Something like this. Maybe I should have just gone for this, I don't know why I didn't. It just scared me so much, the idea of opening up the king position. But
Can you just take the pawn on d4 or what?
there's queen h5.
Oh.
No, I can't, no. Queen d4 I saw. No, but what I didn't see is queen f3, and now that I look at it, maybe this was the way to go. Maybe this is just winning for white. But it was, I mean, it's in a position where you feel you have everything under control. It's very tricky to allow checks and to let him sort of inside. But what I did, I suspect, is just plain wrong. I went queen e7, rook c8.
One question.
Yeah.
Can you play bishop b1?
I can, yes. I think the point is he goes f5. I take on f5, he goes d3. I take on d3, and he goes queen g6. And now I have to trade queens. And I think I can do something like bishop g6, a3, bishop f7. But this might end up being a draw. Like something like rook a8. I think I have to play bishop a2. Now rook c8. And the rook comes to c2. And then the pawn comes to a2. And then he starts chasing my dark squared bishop. And I lost a game like this to Ivanchuk many, many years ago. I had the rook. So actually it's not that easy. I mean, you say he will chase my bishop. It's not that easy to chase the bishop, actually. It's not straightforward, and maybe this is winning. But I was looking for a cleaner solution, and what I ended up doing is, I think, just wrong. I went queen e7, and after rook c8, I spotted, because here I was planning to go bishop e6, and I was very happy. And then I spotted that he can play queen c1, king h2, and queen c2. And I think this is just a draw, because after I take on c8, he takes on f2, king h3, queen f1, king g4, queen d1, whoops, no, queen d1, and king f5, queen c2 check is not really a winning attempt as such, because the bishop will actually fall with a temper. The bishop gets taken with check, so I might end up regretting going for this position with all those passers. So bishop e6 didn't work. So I ended up repeating and going h5 in this position, assuming he has to play queen c5. And now I was planning to go queen d7. Now h6 is a huge threat. He, I think, has to play queen c6, and I was very happy because I'm winning one of the pawns. And I thought, okay, this is great. Why did it take me half an hour to calculate this? Let's move on. And then he went queen d8, and new game starts, because once again, I have to be very, very precise here, and I suspect maybe my very first move was wrong, but maybe not, I don't know. Maybe I had to play queen a7 here. But I was very happy with queen b7 because the queen cannot be hit there, and then he goes h6, and I realized that, you know, I can bring the bishop over to, let's say, f5, but he will just put the queen on g8, and there's no mate. And in the meantime, he just pushes the pawns. and it's very difficult for me to progress. So I played bishop e6, and this is where it gets kind of tricky because, first of all, I'm not sure what I'm supposed to do after rook a8. My plan was to play bishop c7 for some reason, and if queen e8, bishop d7, kind of trying to cut off the squares for the rook. And in general, sort of going after the rook here. And whether this is any good, I honestly have no idea. I can't tell you. This might be a good idea, then again it might not be. So I'm not sure what's wrong with rook a8. There's also rook c5, after which my plan was to play queen b4, rook takes h5, and queen takes a4, because I thought at least I should get one of those pawns, but this is probably closer to a draw than to a win anyway. I think already I mixed something up. And then Sergey thought for a while and went rook c3, I have no idea why. And I spotted this beautiful idea, which works perfectly after a3, but I'm not sure what's going on after d3, to be honest. Because if I play bishop d6, as I was, I think, originally intending, later on I realized that after g2, bishop f8, in all of these positions, he has rook takes g3. Although maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it doesn't really help him.
Not threatening mate. Yeah, you are.
I am threatening mate on g8. Yeah, now I realize that maybe this doesn't help. Because, I mean, this was very beautiful. I thought d3, bishop g6. No, but the biggest problem for me in this position was that in this position he can actually play rook c8. This was my biggest issue. He can go rook c8, and now, unfortunately, I can't really threaten mate. All I can do is take on c8, queen takes c8, and okay, I can play something like, I don't know, it's not easy to proceed here. I'm not sure I'm better. The problem is I'm very, very discoordinated. I can play bishop f8, but he has queen g4. This is the big thing. And after g3, to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what I'm supposed to do here. I mean, I have an additional tempo. The important thing is that I can actually wait for one more move. I can play something like bishop f5, for instance, here, or queen g6, because d2 is not a threat. But on the other hand, if I play something like queen g6, he will just play a3, a2, or queen f8 or something. And I've honestly have no clue what's going on. But here I got a gift. He went a3. And here I think I'm just winning. Bishop d6. And the beautiful thing is, if he starts with a check at any point, yeah, or a2 here, exactly, yeah, a2, bishop f8, a1, king h2 is mate, clearly. This I had seen. And if he goes rook c1, king h2, queen a8, bishop d5, a2 here, well, this doesn't make any sense. Bishop takes 8 is winning, but I mean, bishop f8 is winning as well, so. His only chance is what he played, but it just loses on the by force as well, because I go bishop d5. I think a2 is the only move. Also, I almost played king h2 here, but then I realized that I don't really need this in my life. Rook c2, bishop d5, and now something like maybe rook takes f2, king g1. Maybe this is also winning, actually. Maybe I could also do this, but I don't actually need to, because the point is, it was important for me to see in this position. I saw queen e1 from a long way away, and it could get slightly tricky, but then I spotted king h3, and this is once you see king h3, you don't see any need not to play this, because the king is incredibly safe on h4 in every single line, and then you just give mate, something like let's say queen f1 check. I think the most precise move is actually king h4. He goes queen c4. And now after bishop d5, the point is after bishop d5, queen c8, with the king on h3, this would be check. And here this is not check, so bishop f8 is just mate. And in the game, of course, rook c8, this is just completely lost. Yeah. I think bishop d5 is fine. I mean, king g2 is also possible, but I thought, why not do this? So I'm sorry this was a bit rambling, but this was a long game with lots of stuff happening. So.
Oh, but these last maneuvers, they were wonderful. I mean, did you have the feeling you had your brain back by then? Or?
Not entirely, no. No.
Wow.
Well, as I said, only after a3 bishop d6 did I feel I'm finally back in some kind of control. And by then the game actually is over. But I mean, after queen f7 d3, I honestly have no idea what's going on. I was just, by this point I was kind of autopiloting and kind of trusting into my lucky stars because, you know, I couldn't think straight.
But it was a great fight.
It was a great fight, but I mean, I'm kind of happy that after the day I had yesterday, I managed to play a game of sorts, because yesterday was just such a fantastic day that it would have been kind of really unpleasant if I wasted it.
It's one of the things we definitely should mention, that if you have seen this wonderful video clip that was made with the song about the tournament and Magnus being on the rock, I mean, Peter went there with his second yesterday. You walked up?
Yeah, we walked up. Yeah, we
rock.
hiked up. That was it was a fantastic experience, and the view from there is just spectacular. And
did you lie down on the rock? And
yeah,
really?
There are pictures and everything. Yeah.
Oh, because it's so scary to even watch those pictures.
Yeah, your legs kind of go when you get to within 2 meters. But I thought, I mean, if I'm there, I need to do all these things. So I did push-ups on the edge.
And all that has been recorded.
There are pictures, yeah. They are actually on Facebook, so I mean,
okay.
You don't have to go very far.
Yes. So how long did it take you to walk up there?
About an hour 40 up and maybe 2 hours down, but we took us a bit of a long road down.
Simon, are you impressed?
Very much so, for sure, yes. I want to do that tour too. I think everybody should. Don't you think?
I think it's fun. I mean, I heartily recommend it for everybody, because I think it's an experience unlike any other.
So, and that you wanted to crown with a good game today?
Well, I wanted to play a decent game of some kind, yeah. And as I said, my biggest worry initially was that it will not be a game at all. You know, I mean, we thought that d5 just completely kills the line, frankly, and we couldn't see any way to proceed.
Well, a recently established tradition is that the players who come here, that we ask them to comment on the game that is still in progress.
Well, I'm going by the evaluation of the machine.
And?
Seemingly How is winning, but
I've
been trying to figure out how and failing, so but that's probably just me.
It will be a queen ending.
I think it ends up being a queen ending, but if it's a queen ending, why is it winning? I mean, the king is where it has to be, so. No, but I think basically he goes f4, gf, king e2, then he comes and collects the f pawn, he returns to d1, and at this point he has to be winning somehow. But how exactly is the big question. Yeah, I don't know. I'm probably missing something clearly, but I can't really figure it out just yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, he went for this, and now we will.
Just not sure.
Just briefly.
Well, when he plays f4.
He went f4, gf, king e2.
Was f4 so obvious?
But what else is there? What can you do?
It's no way to get the rook back.
No, I don't think so. No. So he's planning to do rook e6, king d3. I think, although maybe it's good to keep this pawn alive, but I don't know. He can do this because now rook takes h6 is a huge threat, so check has to be given. Takes rook d6 back, and you have to go back. Rook e6, king d3, rook c6, and for instance king e2, rook e6, rook e3, takes. Oh no, he didn't take the pawn, so he probably sees something. So he in this position he went. He went rook e3 here. So takes. Yeah, h7 d1, h8, and yeah, that's very easy actually. Check. Oops, no. Check. Yeah, check, and check.
Oh.
Yeah. Took me a while.
Oh yes.
Took me a while, but I think how sees it. So. I assume he sees it, so
Yes,
I think
they have the
Magnus.
position there.
No, this is. I think this is not the position. So.
And this, this
Ah, it is. Okay.
he made
okay.
it, he did it.
Yeah. So.
Well,
So Magnus keeps his half a point advantage going into the last round. No, I'm not Magnus. I mean Sergey.
yeah.
I'm so used to Magnus being the one in first place that I'm just doing these things on the pilot.
It's like London. They're both losing the.
Yeah.
Not the final game, perhaps, but.
And you're always involved.
Well, but this time I'm kind of helping Magnus. I mean, it's.
Yeah.
What can you do?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Peter Svidler.
Okay.
That was great. And that definitely is a sensational turn of events.